Hey guys, what's going on? BizzyDad here, you there, checking out my latest deck build video, and it's been a while since I put one of these up, I understand, and I apologize. Things get a little hectic here as we get into the summer months with work and sports. Don't forget, it's hockey, Stanley Cup, playoffs are going on, we're almost up to the final, so that's exciting. I definitely get into that and some other things going on too that I'm involved with. But here is the latest creation right out of the lab, and I know you see this ruler and think right away, hey, you're a little late to the party here with this guy, which may be true, but there are a couple of reasons behind this. First of all, Fox is a little tough to build for because he locks you into certain cards, certain must-haves, certain playing styles that you need to in order to make him work correctly. That's number one. And number two is because he's all over the place, although he might be dying down just a little bit, but he's still out there. I didn't want to just give you the same type of deck that you can find on any of these top lists or anywhere else where his upper tier decks are posted. You can just go get those lists. Why would I give you something that is just basically a copy of that? So while we do have the key components and some must-have cards, I wanted to make a deck around it that is filled with a little bit of my fun, unique cards and tricks and combos, but at the same time, really fun to play. Still fits the playing style and can potentially win you some games. I think I've done that and I have it right here, but when I put these up, as always, you decide. You are the judge. So here's the deck I call Fun Time Foxy with our ruler, Lilias Petal. This is a green, black, and moon deck. I'm going to give you a little bit of more moon love before Alice Cluster rotates out. So whenever the moon is involved, you know we're up to tricks. So here's Lilias Petal in full art glory. Just a gorgeous card. The Judgment of 0 and no front-facing ability. There's the Energize for green or dark. So if you do not go first, you get the coin or the token or the little piece, whatever. Banish at any time. You can make green or dark. We already know that. We'll pay the 0 and flip him over, and this is where the magic happens. This is where Fox becomes Fox, and everything happens right here. So, as you can see, this card cannot battle, and this card cannot be destroyed. Now, there are ways around it. He's not completely invincible. There are ways to strip him of that ability and then destroy him. So, he does need protection, and we have a little bit of that in the deck. So, let's get all into the text. He is a Myth J ruler. Like I said, there's no stats. Can't battle, can't be destroyed. Now, if you banish a Wind Resonator, Darkness Resonator, and a Killing Stone, which is Fox's special stone, if you banish all three of them, you get to search your deck, hand, removed area, and or cards you own from outside the game, that's your sideboard, for a Wind or Darkness Chimera Resonator and put it into your field. Now, if you searched your deck, shuffle it, play this ability, only once per turn. What's interesting there is once per turn, not just your turn, per turn. So you can do this ability on your turn and then again on your opponent's turn. Also, if you rest the Fox on this side, you get to take a Killing Stone out of your graveyard and shuffle it back into your stone deck. That's important because you need the Killing Stone in order to bring the Chimeras out onto the field. So that is really it. He's extremely powerful, especially if you can get the Chimeras out early and get them to stick and really just force your opponent to, instead of being aggressive and putting plays towards you, get your opponent to respond and have to answer the Chimeras and everything else you have going on before that. He is very powerful. As you can see, he still will appear in top 16s here and there. Very strong ruler. So let's get into the stone base, and it should be no surprise that we see 4 copies of the Killing Stone. If you play Fox, you need the Killing Stone, or else it just doesn't make much sense. So if your ruler is not Lilias Petal or the Fox, it's going to come in rested unless you pay 300 life. It makes dark or green. It's considered a Windstone and a Darkness Magic Stone. When this card is put into a graveyard from your field, your opponent loses 100 life and you gain 100 life. Really secondary ability here. This can, if you play a tree deck and they have no way to gain life when they go down, you can just do the Fox effect and they die. They'll just lose 100 life and you win the game, but that's just secondary. You gain 100 life whenever you do this ability, and I think that's there to offset the cost of the monkey trapped in life, which we're going to see in just a second. But any Fox deck is going to run those Killing Stones, and you have to run 4. It makes the most sense. 3 copies of Magic Stone of Black Silence. This is going to give us more. It's more dark and green. That's both Wind Magic Stone and Dark Magic Stone. And finally, I did say it's a moon deck, so here's the Black Moon's Memoria. This will make either moon or dark. So all 10 of our stones give us the dark, access to dark. We do have 7 for green and then 3 for the moon. And we do use the moon in this deck, as you'll see. So here we go, into the deck and into the Resonators. Monkey Trapped in Life. This is another Fox staple. So it's a 1 dark Fairy Tale Resonator, 100 attack and defense. When the card is put into a graveyard from your field, return it to its owner's hand. You lose 100 life. And this is pretty much tailor-made to play with the Fox's ability, because when you banish the Killing Stone, you gain 100 life. And when the monkey hits the graveyard, it comes back to your hand and you lose 100 life. So basically just a wash, and you can get the monkey back for free. And one thing you're going to see in this deck is just the interaction that we have between our hand, the deck, and the graveyard. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of searching and drawing and pulling back out. So part of the fun aspect of it, trying to keep our hands full at all times and always giving us options. So monkey, definitely a must-have in the Fox decks. You see it all the time. 4 copies of Sacred Beast of Wind. So here's a 1-drop green Resonator. It's a beast, 300 attack and defense with flying, and it also has the inheritance ability. So if you pay 1 and discard this out of your hand, target Resonator gains +3/+3 and flying until end of turn. Target J Resonator, I should say. So you pay the green, you discard it, you discard the Sacred Beast, and one of your J Resonators gets +3/+3 and flying. So this Resonator has a couple of really good abilities here. First, it could get on the field, and we could use it to banish it for our Fox effect. Some people, you can also use the Divine Bird of Ataraxia, which is another 1 green. It's a 1/1 instead of a 3/3. I choose a 3/3 because this could survive being pinged by Tama or being pinged by any of these resonance abilities that hits a Resonator for 200 damage. We really want to have these low drops on the field because this is our Chimera fodder. So the monkey, even though that's a 1/1, if the monkey gets killed, it comes right back. So you can take that hit, and you'll still have the monkey next turn to potentially do your Fox ability. The bird, that is not the case. So I wanted a little bit higher. I wanted something with a little more than that 200 defense that could survive it. And here is the Sacred Beast. But also, that inheritance ability will come in handy in the late game, as you'll see as we go along. 3 copies of Shade, Envoy of Darkness. So here's a 2 dark Resonator, 600 attack, 400 defense. It's a spirit. With a rest ability, rest it and banish it. The card deals 600 damage to target J Resonator, and you gain 600 life. We have enter effects with our Chimera here that we really want to take advantage of, and Abdul is a thing. So here is a way to hit Abdul and get rid of him. Abdul has 600 defense, but we can get Shade on the field. If Abdul is on our opponent's field, rest it, banish Shade, hit Abdul for the 600, and now he's gone, and we can get our enter effects again. 600 is pretty good, and you also gain that 600 life, but there is resonance here. Anytime a Darkness Magic Stone hits the field, you may pay 3 dark, and if you do, put this card from your graveyard into your hand. So here's our first look, well actually second look if you count the monkey. Here's another card that we have ways of pulling it back out of the graveyard into our hand. That interaction, options. So Shade can come back. Mid to late game, we have the 3 Darkness Stone into the field, we pay 3 dark, boom. And Shade comes back into our hand. We could drop him again and then banish if we need to gain the 600 life and kill a Resonator, or use him as part of the Fox effect to banish and get a Chimera out there. 4 copies. Bird of Paradise, Dancing in the Sky. A little bit of fun and a little bit of uniqueness maybe here for a Fox deck. So this is a 2-drop, 1 green, 1 other, another Beast Resonator with flying. And when this card enters your field, search your deck for a card named Bird of Paradise, Dancing in the Sky. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So we played the Bird of Paradise. We immediately get to go into our deck, find another one, put it into our hand. So here again, another way to get into our deck, interact, keep our hand full. And the lower cost Resonators, dark and green, like I said, we need these and the Killing Stones for our Chimera effect. So this is good to see. 4 copies is good. You might think it's a little clunky, but the fact that you always get to search for them means you'll always have one when you need it. So definitely good to have. And his deck is called Fun Time Foxy, which means it's time for fun. So we definitely have some fun cards, fun little tricks and quirks, distractions, get your opponent thinking which way is he going, or she, ladies. Which way are they going here? How are we going to respond to this? So after that, our next two Resonators, one copy of Jack and one copy of the Skyscraper Giant. Now, probably have never seen this in a Fox deck before, but it's interesting and has worked from time to time. So Jack is the main one we want to play. It's a 3-drop, 8/8 Fairy Tale. When this card deals damage to your opponent, you can banish it, and if you do, you search your deck for the Skyscraper Giant, and you put him onto the field. The Skyscraper Giant gets onto the field. It's usually big problems because he's very hard to deal with. He has barrier to chant and target attack. 17/17, you can rest the Giant, and you deal 800 damage to all non-flying J Resonators, which is just completely out of control. You can rest the Giant before recover, and then rest him again. That's 1,600 damage. Now, the Giant doesn't fly, but he could take both of those hits. He has 1,700 defense. A great way to kill an opponent's J-Ruler that doesn't fly. That's really out of control. And also, don't forget our Sacred Beast. Here is one way to kind of interact. If we do get the play off, and we do get the Giant into the field, we can always pay the one green and discard for inheritance. And now the Skyscraper Giant is a 2,000 flyer with barrier against chant. Good luck dealing with him, and opponents just are not going to have too many answers to that. So, really fun way, and only one copy of each. If we get it, we get it. If we don't get it, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. But just because we only have one copy, we have ways to get these things to work besides the regular way, as you're going to see with our next Resonator. Is 3 copies of the Shadow Doppelganger. So, again, another really fun card. This is a 4-drop, 1 dark, 3 of other to play. It's a Shadow Resonator. You can see 0 attack and defense, but as this card enters your field, you may remove a Resonator in your graveyard from the game. If you do, this card enters your field as a copy of the card removed this way, and yet it's another way for us to get the Skyscraper Giant into the field. But that's not all. It's not just the Giant. So let's explain how this really helps us here. The Shadow Doppelganger is important. The wording is important because she will remove a Resonator from the game and become an exact copy of that. So if we can get the Skyscraper Giant in the graveyard and pay the 4 to put her out, we can grab that Giant and become copies of it. But besides the Giant, we do run one of each of the Chimeras in the main deck. So we have 1 Ammit, 1 Griphon, 1 Manticore. They're all in the main deck, 1 copy. Now, if we can get any of these into the graveyard, which we'd like to do, and which we have ways with our spells and abilities to get them in the graveyard. The interaction with the Chimera is really good here, because when the Shadow Doppelganger comes in, let's just say we have a Griphon in the graveyard. We play our Shadow Doppelganger. Shadow Doppelganger says to take a Resonator from the graveyard and remove it from the game. So we're going to remove Griphon from the game. She becomes a copy of it. Now, when I play, I usually just put the Resonator on top to kind of signify that she is a copy of that Resonator. But in reality, this card is gone. It's RFG. She is just a copy of that. If we hit the mid game, we're kind of close. This is where it becomes really strong because the Griphon is removed from the game. So now, at the same time, if we pulled that play off and we happen to have the monkey and the bird on the field, what we could do is we could then take our Killing Stone, banish the Killing Stone along with these two, and that Fox effect is going to pull the Griphon because it is removed from the game, and we're allowed to go get a Chimera that's RFG'd. So right there, we now have 2 Griphons on the field. They got double Doppel, they got Doppel Fox on that one turn. And the Griffon's enter effect, you put the top 2 cards of your Magic Stone area into your field. So, Shadow Doppelganger is a copy of Griphon. You get 2 stones, and then you banish the Killing Stone with the Resonators if you have it. Grab that Griphon who's RFG'd, put it right into the field. 2 Griffons, 4 stones, and you have 2 12/12 flyers. This is trouble. And the Doppelganger could do that to any of the Chimera, the Manticore, and Ammit, same thing. It removes them from the game. Since they're RFG'd, the Fox effects can go look for it and grab it. So it's a cool way to actually get double Chimera on one turn. It's powerful. When you are able to pull it off, it's really a lot of trouble. This puts your opponent behind, especially Ammit. Ammit destroys Resonators, and you gain life equal to the defense. It could be really nasty and really just a way to just put your opponent on the ropes to potentially end the game. So that's it for Resonators. Let's go to spells and abilities, where you're going to see the deck manipulation and the graveyard manipulation continue. 3 copies of Soulhunt. So it's a 1 dark chant. We're only doing this on our turn, but each player banishes a Resonator, then each player discards a card. Here's where we want to have this in the early game, especially if we, after we mulligan, if we have a Skyscraper Giant or a Chimera in our hand. While, yes, it's true, we can hardcast these down the road if we have enough stones. We can never hardcast the Skyscraper Giant. And even though there's only 1 copy, if this happens to be in our hand, we could play Soul Hunt, make our opponent discard a card and banish a Resonator. We're going to have to do the same, but if we have a card like the Monkey Trapped in Life, we'll just, if this is on the field, we'll just banish the Monkey. It's going to come back to our hand anyway, and then we have the Skyscraper Giant in our hand. We're going to discard the Giant. Now it's in the graveyard. So if later on in the game we play that Shadow Doppelganger, guess who comes right out of the graveyard? It's the Skyscraper Giant. So although Soul Hunt makes you discard and banish as well, if you do it right, or if you play this card before you have any Resonators on the field, there is value to the card, especially with the way we want this deck to work. 3 copies of Planting Beans. This is a really good card. So it's a 1-drop chant. Again, we're only doing this on our turn, but search your deck for a card and put it into your graveyard. Then shuffle your deck. However, if the card is awakened, you can put that card from your graveyard into your hand. The awakening is another green and 1. So if we play it for just the 1, we get to go into our deck, take any card we want, and put it into our graveyard. And again, another way to get the Giant into the graveyard. If we have the Doppelganger in our hand, we pay 1, search for the Giant, put it into our graveyard, and if it's, like I said, if we have the stones and we have the 4 to play the Doppelganger right on the same turn, then boom, Doppelganger comes out, takes the Giant, becomes a copy of it. Or it takes one of our, if we have a Griphon or another Manticore in the graveyard, it becomes a copy of that too. Just a way to shortcut and cheat our big guns that we have in the main deck, that we don't want them to have them stuck in our hands or our deck. So we have ways to go get them in our graveyard, and then play the Shadow Doppelganger. It also has good uses if you're desperate to get a Chimera out there and you have the 3 stones to do it. I've done it in the past where I just don't have a Darkness Resonator to sack off for the Chimera. So I do the Planting Bean to go get a Monkey or go get Shade or anything like that, and then just throw them on the field, and then I can sack them off for the Chimera. So it has happened in the past, and Planting Beans does come in handy for that. You're asking about the moon. When's the moon coming in? All right, 3 copies of Call of Primogenitor, a 1 dark instant. So here we can do this at any time. Put target Resonator from your graveyard into your hand. So here's our interaction. Instead of getting cards out of our hand or out of our deck into the graveyard, if we wanted to go the other way, such as a card like the bird that we want to get out, or if we want to get Shade out for cheap instead of paying the 3, we could pay this 1 dark right here. Any Resonator out of our graveyard right into our hands. There is an awakening of Moon and 1. So if you pay black, Moon, and 1, you get to get the Resonator out of your graveyard. But then you also search your main deck for a Darkness Resonator, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So if you're struggling and you need a Shade, or optimally you want to get that Shadow Doppelganger, you got the Giant in the graveyard but just no Doppelganger, we could use our Awakening if we have the Moon, go get it with Call of Primogenitor, and then guess what's happening that turn? Doppelganger is going to come out. So you can see that it's an aggressive deck, a little bit out of my comfort zone. I like to play more defensively, but this is very aggressive. Getting cards out of the deck, getting cards out of the graveyard, getting cards out of the RFG zone, putting cards in our hand, then right onto the field directly, cheap and discounted. A lot of options, and we just want to keep our opponent guessing. Besides the usual, oh, it's Fox and he's going to go for the Chimera. Yeah, we're going to go for it, but at the same time, we have all these other options to kind of keep you distracted too. 1 copy, Pitch Black Moon. This is an addition. 1 dark, 1 other to play. Your J Ruler gains +2/+2 as long as it's darkness. The Fox is darkness, but he can't battle and he can't be destroyed. So we don't care about that. But it is the Moon ability on this card. So for 1 Moon and discard a Resonator, you put another target Resonator from your graveyard into your hand. So it's basically just a Resonator swap. So if we have our bird is in the graveyard, we somehow have the Giant in our hand, we pay the Moon, we discard the Giant, we get the bird back into our hand. And now the Giant is ready to come out If we get the Doppelganger, do that with a Chimera, do it with a Shade, anything that you want to trade in and out from your hand to the graveyard. Pitch Black Moon will do it. And I originally had 2 copies, but 1 copy works fine, especially with Planting Beans, where if we really need to go get it, we can go get it with the Planting Beans and put it in our hand. When it does hit the field, it does come in handy. Okay, 3 copies of Space-Time Collapse, so it's a 2 dark chant. We can only do it on our turn, but we get to destroy either a target Resonator or Regalia. If our ruler was Gil Lapis, we could do both, 1 of each. However, this is a pretty good card, just destroys a Resonator, no questions asked. And for 2, when you're going up against people who have the Guibers or anybody big, it's a really good way to just get rid of them. 2 drop and gone, or even just a Regalia. If there's a Regalia out there giving you problems, boom, this thing can go. You have that option too. So, really good to have. 2 copies, Blessing of Yggdrasil, a 2-drop chant. We're only doing it on our turn, 1 green, 1 of other. Search your Magic Stone deck for a card and put it into your Magic Stone area rested, then shuffle your stone deck. So we don't have a Killing Stone, we're just not drawing it. We need to get one. Blessing of Yggdrasil will just go and find it for us. Pretty good ability, a way to ramp up a little bit and get the Killing Stone when we need it. 2 copies, Wind Secluded Refuge. Like I said, there are a couple of cards that can lock down the Fox and destroy it. Blazer could do it. A combination of Final Forfeit and Black Moonbeam will kill the Fox as well. So a little bit of protection here, but it also can cancel any spell targeting any of our Resonators. It doesn't have to be the Fox. So if we have a Griphon or if they found a way to get to the Giant with maybe a Valentina Puppet Monarch, they're trying to steal it, or a Triton, they're trying to steal our Giant. We get our Wind Secluded out there. We could banish it and then just cancel that ability. Plus, it lets us draw a card. So why not have this in the deck? Protect, draw a card. Finally, in the main deck, 1 copy of Heavenly Gust. It's a quick cast, 2 drop, 2 green, do it at any time. We can destroy a target addition or Regalia. If it's Torrent, the second card we play the turn, we destroy all additions and Regalia that our opponent controls. And again, it's something we can go get with the Planting Beans. If we have the stones, Planting Beans for 3, put it right into our hand. Then play it, it's Torrent, it just wipes the board. All addition and Regalia gone. You go up against a pesky Kaguya deck before they get the moons out there. Here's a good way to just wipe those treasure items before they become a real problem. So, that is the main deck. The side deck, plug and play, right? It's usually situational. However, Fox does kind of lock your sideboard down because you're going to need the Chimeras. And then we have 2 more of each. 2 more Griphons, 2 more Ammits, 2 more Manticores. Griphon, 12/12 flyer. When it comes in, you get 2 Magic Stones. Ammit is a 15/15 beater. When the card enters your field, destroy target Resonator. If you do, you gain life equal to the defense. What's important to note here is that it could be any Resonator, even on your side of the field. So if you are in trouble and you need life, you can have Ammit come in and kill Ammit. You can have Ammit come in and kill the Skyscraper Giant, if necessary. But, kill those guys off. Gain the life. If you kill an Ammit, it goes into the graveyard, who can then be doppelgangered back out if you have the card and the stones to do it. So, no worries right there. Like I said, the interaction is good. Manticore, we didn't really touch on that, but it is a flyer for 9/9, and when it enters the field, you look at your opponent's hand and choose a card for them to discard, or you could destroy a target addition or Regalia that your opponent controls. So, again, we're covering as many bases as possible with our enter effects and trying to deal with what our opponent might have. 2 Barrier Shadows. Again, it's a 1-drop addition. Your opponent will pay 1 more for Judgment or God's Art, and your opponent pays 1 more to play Regalia activate abilities. So, Levitine, Pumps, Hydromonicas, Apollos, anything. They're going to have to pay 1 more. Of course, this slows the Priscilla down a little bit because they're just so dependent on the Regalia Pumps to get her out. I said Abdul was a thing, and we run 2 copies of Abdul in the sideboard. A 6/6 Wizard Resonator, 2 dark to play. Resonators entering your opponent's field don't cause their own abilities to trigger. So this stops everything. This will stop Captain Hook. This will stop Celestial Wing Seraph. This stops any enter effects when this card enters your field. Any of those enter effects get stopped on a Resonator when Abdul is on the field. And so we can get him out there, and we have ways to pull him out of the graveyard if he happens to get killed. So with our spells and abilities, these cards are always coming back and can always be a problem. 2 copies Gale Force, 1 green, instant quick cast, destroy target Resonator with flying. So go up against a deck with a lot of flyers. Here's a way to just get rid of them. We run 2 copies Space-Time Collapse will kill a Resonator. Ammit will kill a Resonator. So we have ways of getting them. But Gale Force is great at instant speed. It could stop an attack. We can get rid of a blocker, get the final damage through to our opponent. Not bad. And finally, 3 copies of Fallen Angelic Destroyer Lucifer. If we are going up against somebody who has our number with the graveyard, like a Dark Alice, somebody's playing the Horn, that could potentially wipe everything out. It really puts the Doppelganger play on the back burner. We could switch it out and bring in Lucifer, which is a 4-drop Angel Demon Resonator, 9/9 flyer. When it enters your field, the opponent has to banish a Resonator, and we have a little bit of a life link here. For Moon and Black, whenever this card deals damage this turn, you're going to gain that much life. So yeah, another little option for our Moon to get things going. But Doppelganger is preferred. However, if we go up against somebody who has the medicine for that, we can always switch out for Lucifer. So guys, that is it. The profile for Fun Time Foxy with Lilias Petal, trying to be a little different, trying to be a little fun. Is this top tier? Is this meta? No, probably not. Probably will not beat that deck in a best of 5 or best of 7, but it does have potential. It is fun to play. It is different. People don't expect to see all these cards in combos with the Fox. They're expecting one way. You kind of hit them with this. They don't know what to do, and you can get some wins. But I want to know what you think. Let me know with the comment below. You like this deck? You hate it? Tell me what you think. Be honest. Tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. There's always more videos coming on the way. We've got more spoilers as those come out too. I only focus on the rulers, guys. I'm not going to give you every spoiler. I like to be surprised. But as the rulers come out, I'll definitely go over them with a little spoiler video. But as always, thanks for a few minutes. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.